doesn't super matter. Intro.
Yeah, intro.
I'm Sir Flowbojan Thunderhammer.
And I'm Teflon Frosthammer.
And I'm Cabbage Tidehammer.
And this
is
WAK.
If amtgard knighthood means anything, you can't knife a motherfucker and keep it.
And the thing that people need to understand essentially about arts and sciences events is that your scores don't matter.
Do you want a black phoenix or a white phoenix?
Jeez, language, man. We're on
right.
a freaking podcast, for fuck's sake.
Mind-blowing experience, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to WAK, where we discuss topics important to the amtgard community at large and talk with interesting people from around the foam fighting world. This week, we are going to be discussing some of the stuff heading into winter. This is going to be a Hammertime. Amtgard kind of changes as the seasons start to change. There's a good chance that you're going to be losing some people from your park, especially if your park has a lot of families and or younger members. Parents may not want to drag their kids out and, I don't know, what do you say it's been getting down to in the low here, 30 or so? Maybe not during the day yet. But
Yeah, I was going to say, we've been hitting like the mid-50s, which so far has been kind of nice.
But, wanted to talk a little bit about some winter prep stuff that you and your park could do. Now's the time to bust out your armor that you never wear because it's always super hot where you
if
are.
you live in
Unless
the
it's
South.
chainmail, don't do that.
Unless it's chainmail, don't do that.
Yeah.
And then we'll just kind of go freeform from there. There's a few other things that I thought might be fun to talk about. But to start with, we are coming into some colder weather. All of the weather reports that I have looked at, the long-distance forecasts have said that we are actually going to have a cold winter this year and very likely get some snow.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, I know. Depending on where you are, maybe snow's a common thing for you, but we are in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we haven't had snow in quite some time. They're saying it's going to push down pretty far because of
They say all that, but it's the oak ridge plants that just the radiation kills the ability for it to come through.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't
Also,
know.
they control the weather.
Probably.
Oh, man. Cloud seeding and stuff?
Yeah, that's where they make the birds at.
Couple your chainmail with a nice windbreaker.
I didn't think birds were real.
Yeah, that's the point. They make the birds there.
We need to have Regan really confirm on this. I think he's done most of the research into birds.
There's a TikTok that's birds aren't real. It's legit kind of awesome.
Okay, good.
But, we've already seen a little bit of a drop-off in our numbers because the weather's starting to change. People are getting busier, too. And we have a lot of holidays coming up. So wanted to start off by asking you guys, what are some things that you can do to help your park whenever the weather starts getting a little colder?
I think from an A&S perspective, you can get some patterns for cloaks or fleece-lined tunic type things, warm garb, and get together and kind of do a garb night or something along those lines to get everyone like cold weather gear in general. Base layers are very important. If it gets cold enough for you guys, can't think of anything else. Gloves, make sure you have gloves of any kind. I'd recommend having gloves to fight with in general, like centuries or whatever, but if you have fingerless gloves, having a pair of gloves to put on under your normal fighting gloves is actually pretty good too. It is going to mess with your grip likely, but it's worth it because cold stinging weapons they're not nice.
Right.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback off of that too, the tape gets more brittle, maybe more firm.
Yeah.
So for everyone, but dudes, this is going to be something new for you to hear. You want more padding over your nipples because you catch some cold sword tape right across that, and it's going to end your whole fucking day.
I just suggest having as small as nipples possible.
What size coin would you suggest? Fuck you, we're not no. Dime, is that good?
Yeah, I think that's what mine are, actually.
Jesus God, we know too much now. Subscribe to the OnlyFans. You'll see Jeff's nipples, maybe.
Is this going
If
to
you
make
can
it
spot 'em.
into the WAK calendar?
Oh,
Are we doing one of those?
Oh, we are now.
no.
Oh, yeah, we definitely are.
Hold on. I know Radiant Valley is looking to utilize some kind of indoor space. I know like local YMCAs will let you rent the space for a couple of hours at a time if they have a large indoor area. And that is if your park has coffers and can afford to sort of soak that cost. That's huge because that keeps your numbers up through the winter, and then you come out with the same numbers you started with.
Yeah, and let's face it, very few parks use their coffers for anything. A lot of them just hoard them like dragons. This is a good chance for you to be able to get a nice warm place, pull people back in that normally wouldn't be able to come out, or even people that are normally come out, but the weather just got too much for them, right? Go ahead and start checking ahead and seeing what the weather's going to be, and see if you have a Lions Club or YMCA or something around you that you might want to rent some space and just get together and fight and do ANS and whatever.
Also consider location changes. I know Radiant Valley recently moved where we have our normal fighters practice because where we were having it at, the sun's going down a lot sooner. So where we've been having it at, it just gets dark at like 5:30 and they don't bother to turn on any lighting. So we've actually switched to the local skate park, which has like stadium lighting and they have a good grass area to fight in. So not even just the cold, but just the daylight running out sooner. Think about that too.
Yeah.
And skaters are pretty good.
They
Pretty
could
good
be a
park to pull
demographic.
from.
Yeah.
Beefy
skaters are huge nerds. Listen, if you can get them interested in what you're doing, they will absolutely become long-term players.
Yeah.
Beefy skates. Cabbage used to skate.
I used to actually as well.
Yeah.
Teflon used to skate. Mine is going to be tilting towards something that we learned during COVID. Start thinking of some activities that you can do online with your park.
Absolutely. I was going to bring that up if you didn't.
ANS is a great resource to do online because you can have your camera on, you can be working on stuff, and it kind of gives you the social environment to be able to bullshit with people while you're doing it.
Webcams were like $15 at Walmart.
Yeah.
So
Also, everybody has a phone, so
there's that too.
your phone has one of the nicest cameras you'll ever own. Just
right.
hanging out there.
The other things that you can do online, just as community building stuff that I've seen some other parks do, is pull up some video. If you're interested in fighting, I've seen some people getting together. There's a lot of tournaments that have been going up lately. I know that Tato was back and did a tournament recently. It was good to see you back out, Tato. So pull those up and just watch them. Watch over them. See if there's any shots that, if you're more towards the fighting persuasion, since I gave an example that was in S. Pull them up and see if there's any shots that you like. See what people are in other kingdoms are throwing. All of that stuff can be really helpful for your fighting career.
Yeah. I'd go with that. Plus, there's lots of good content just on like TikTok if you guys want to do group watches of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Come try LARP.
Yeah, I was going to say the general idea is to do something that you can engage with your community, local community, through amtgard and as amtgard if possible. Like D&D stuff is pretty good. It kind of keeps you in contact, but it's not directly as amtgard, so people are more likely to drift, I think, that way. But at least you're talking to the people, keeping in contact. That's really big.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agree with that. Other things to focus on, and I know that we mentioned doing a cloak. I think that's an excellent idea, but shifts in the type of garb. I am almost always in shorts and a t-shirt regardless of the weather, but even I have switched over to kind of like, flannel pants or sleep pants or whatever you want to call them. We talked about layering. What does that mean for amtgard? How do you, with garb in the way, how do you do layering?
First off, we got to have Beefy on to have his whole layering talk because I think he has like legit a whole TED talk prepared on layering and how to make these pieces. And we've talked about having him make stuff on the podcast before. I think that would be, we need to kind of talk to him about getting that started. But as far as layering goes, for me, that's being lazy and wearing all of my garb at once.
Oh God, that's so
No, I'm just kidding. Really, it's about wearing multiple layers that you can like shed or change out. Like I have a coat kind of like this one, but more amtgard specific that I'm now throwing on top of all my other stuff because when I belted it looks very piratey and bardy, and that's good. Teflon made me a hat forever ago that is just straight wool, and like I've never been able to wear it for more than 10 minutes, but now.
Yeah.
Now's your chance.
Yeah.
I got some legging type things that are meant for cold weather.
It's true, to make his butt look like two hams.
They were like $12 on Amazon or something.
Your butt?
Yeah. They're like Tesla branded or something weird. But I use those. I usually have like a t-shirt or like muscle shirt or something like that on with that, and then go to like a short sleeve kind of shirt and then a long sleeve shirt or something like that, and then garb over that. So I have a lot of layers so that I can, if it gets really hot or it didn't get as cold as we thought it was going to get or something like that, I can peel things back to just have garb on basically.
Yeah. And I mean, just like a long t-shirt underneath is always an easy piece, and you can just throw it on under your garb. But I think a big thing that's kind of easy to neglect because it's getting cold is stuff like Under Armour. If you've got the right kind of Under Armour, and there are specific kinds, so look into this, but wearing Under Armour in the winter is still a good idea because staying dry is integral to staying warm. If you're even a little bit wet, evaporative cooling will absolutely chill you. So stay dry if nothing else.
I forgot to mute my phone. I'm an adult.
I just did that too.
I never unmute my phone. Don't call me. If you need me, don't.
Just call him every time.
Nope.
Don't
Phone's
text
on
him.
mute.
Always call.
Dead ass phone's on mute, won't hear it. I will text you back after seeing I missed your call.
Just keep calling.
But
over and over again.
I don't like you. Why are you like this?
But yeah, I think that I think that both of you are right. Being able to pull some stuff off, even as you get fighting and add it back on, it takes a little bit more time. But don't be uncomfortable. Don't keep fighting if you're cold or something like that. Plan ahead. That's really what we're saying is in whatever normal bag that you bring out, toss in an extra hoodie. It can really make a difference, just the hoodie.
Sure.
The next thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is again along the lines of winter stuff, Cabbage, you touched on earlier too, weapon maintenance, equipment maintenance in general.
Learn how to fluff your swords up.
Yep. It's just a roll motion like this.
Yeah.
Work your way down the sword.
Yeah.
Helps if you blow into the top of it as you're doing it. But
no joke, I have 2 sticks that Beefy made me, and the pommel where he taped up the pommel, on one it's airtight, and you can tell because it's gotten cold, it looks like it's shriveled up.
yeah,
Like, because the air's not allowed to leave it, and then on the other one there's like a little gap, so it still looks like the original pommel. So like if your swords are airtight, they will get shrunken.
but yeah, this is really just a shout out to anyone living in the colder environments, especially if you're a newer amtgarder. Your weapons are going to sustain more damage. They're a little bit more compressed with the cold air.
Your shots are going to come in probably a little harder.
They will.
Feeling. Whether or not you throw them harder or anything, that's not really the case. It's just the way the foam and tape and everything interacts with the cold. So be a little conscious of that as well.
All of our 9 Blades listeners are like, what the fuck? Who cares? We know.
Yeah, right. All 2 of them.
We got a couple. They might be VO too. I don't know.
But yeah, however often you check your weapons, and you should be checking your weapons regularly, everyone. Check them twice as often as that, and that has to be a non-zero number, Jeff.
Why would you look at me like that?
He's a monarch, not a champion. That's not his problem. Come on.
We're all dead. Yeah. So some fun things that you can do at the park in the winter. Do you have any kind of games that you think work better when people are in a lot more garb? Any kind of like holiday themed games or something like that have been fun?
Snowball fight.
Yeah,
Snowball-
you could do
I-
something like that.
Snowball fight?
I mean,
I heard somebody say snowball fight. I'm just going to say snowball fight.
Sure. Yeah, I
You want to
mean,
do a snowball fight?
when we were building back to playing battle games, one of the things I had done was grab different spell balls, and you could only use those spell balls to kill people, basically. So it was like a dodgeball / snowball fight, and you had to learn the incants, and that way you knew what each spell ball did and things like that. So that's kind of an option.
Yeah, anything like that. I mean, part of what we're trying to help all of the parks that are listening out with is your curb appeal, right? You've got to have good curb appeal to get people coming over. Walk-ups are not your best solution for recruitment.
I mean, I think walk-ups is realistically almost a dead thing.
I do too.
Dog, were you there at the Buccaneers Respite event? They had like 5 or 6 walk-ups, and they stayed.
Like I said, almost dead.
Okay.
So the idea here is that we give the best chance for walk-ups, and doing something like that where everybody's laughing and being silly with a ice ball snowball fight or something like that is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps your park learn what the frozen mechanic is. You could have a thing where everybody has a lot of ice balls, but everyone only has one shatter or something like that. It's a cool way to learn a rule and also interact with some holiday stuff. We used to do holiday themed stuff all of the time when we were younger. We had a quests for Halloween and Christmas and Easter and all kinds of stuff. I'd love to see that brought back. I think that can help. You don't do them on that week, of course. You do them leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I think stuff like that can bring people in. And this is the time of year where, at least for us here in East Tennessee, it's not so cold that no one wants to come out and not so warm that no one wants to come out.
Monster hunts might be a thing, because if we're like talking about like lower attendance, so like one or two people play a monster and the rest of the park goes and finds them, hunts them, and fights them, whatever, and you kind of learn what abilities they have or something along those lines could be the thing, and you can theme that kind of thing to holiday stuff. Like you can be hunting reindeer, because I think that's great.
I mean, also you can do like again holiday themed stuff. I mean, it doesn't all have to be games or fighting. Like Friendsgiving is a tradition, at least for me and my friends. I don't have a huge family unit, so we don't do much for Thanksgiving. But Friendsgiving, I go to 2 or 3 of those. That's a good excuse to get your park together and have everybody make food. I think RV's doing some kind of like cookie judging contest. Is that? I don't remember.
I think it's just an excuse for Jay to eat cookies.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Oh yeah, because Beefy had no part in this at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, none. Okay.
Man, I ate all of the food over at your house for Friendsgiving last year.
Yeah, that was. I tried to do a family Thanksgiving and nobody showed up, so I was like, "Well, I made all this food. Friendsgiving at my place. Woo!"
I made myself sick. Man.
I'm gonna continue that tradition until I fucking die.
Yeah. So other things to do, and this brings up the holidays too. With the holidays coming up, people celebrate the holidays in different ways, depending on where you're from, your religious background, that sort of thing. But holidays, at least as far as I'm concerned, are just an excuse to get together with people that you care about, or at least can stand, and have some kind of activity. We mentioned that we got together for a Friendsgiving or something like that. Think about some stuff that you can do park level that way. You know, we talked in an earlier episode during Belt Months about different ways that you can increase the engagement at your park. You know, going out to eat was one of them, finding somewhere cheap, and, you know, even if someone can't afford it or something, say, hey, it's not a big deal, I'll grab a drink for you, let's just come and talk, or something like that. Getting together and doing ANS nights or Magic the Gathering or whatever it is your park likes to do, right? Holidays or times around holidays are a great time to be able to get the park together for something. You could do a potluck over at somebody's house or something like that.
Dragon's Hollow, when we were making the push for Kingdom, I think it was during this time frame that we used some of their numbers. They did food days, and it was like a once a month kind of deal or something like that. That like they would run a food tournament and feed everybody there, and I think it was a tournament.
I remember we went to one of these. I ate until I made myself sick.
Yeah, there's like
it's a tradition. It's just it's a running theme here.
Yeah. So that could be a thing. And you could also have it themed for the particular holiday and stuff like that too. And again, I would try to keep them off for the same weekend of whatever holiday it is or whatever. But again, prior to or leading up to is a really good way to go about it.
And this one's not super holiday specific, but just thinking about like what time of year it is and everything. If you're listening to this on Friday, Regan, the McRib is back. You could do it again, Regan. The McRib is back.
In other news, Regan died.
He almost tried to last year with the what was it, a McRib a day?
After ingesting the equivalency of 400 yoga mats.
I was going to say flip-flops, so we're on the same level.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't do Friendsgiving at McDonald's. Anywhere
Do
but
Friendsgiving at McDonald's. McRib is back.
No.
Kill your friends. It's fine.
But yeah, we've done other stuff too where we would get together outside of AMTgard, just schedule it for, a Thursday or something like that, and did what I've always heard referred to as a white elephant gift giving thing. Where
It goes by so many names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you call it?
Oh, I think my family's thing they call it is maybe racist.
A Secret Santa is another one that
That's slightly different.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Secret Santa's different. They call theirs a
You know-
Chinese auction. I don't know if that's like that is what they've always called it, and I have no idea where the fuck that term comes from because everywhere else it's a white elephant.
Yeah,
I've always heard it called Dirty Santa.
yeah. There you go.
But
Fair enough.
But-
I don't know where that came from. If anybody knows, tell me.
But yeah, we set a limit per gift of $5, and this is
We did belt favors one year.
yeah,
Yeah,
Belt
we did-
Favors was one of them. That we did before.
we did belt favors. And for those that don't know how to sew, don't worry. For the belt favor thing, we got some cloth together. We cut it out. We had paint for everybody. People painted stuff using cloth paint onto it. So you don't have to know how to sew to do it.
I hand stitched one that said "Eat ass, throw wraps."
Yeah.
Yep.
Very
yeah.
badly. You don't have to put a lot of effort into it. I made a stick figure. It's fine.
It was just fun, right? And it gave some people...
Listen, it was a hot commodity. It was traded a couple times.
It was. It gave people something that they could wear on their belt afterwards or something like that. It doesn't have to be fancy.
I actually really like the belt favor one.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that if you do the same thing over and over again, it gets old, right? Like if I don't know, like my family, extended family, have done ornaments for like 10 years. And I hate ornaments. The first year or two, like it was fine, but it's just so boring now that way. But like change it up some, like do belt favors 1 year, and then do like I don't know, like. Some other kind of small thing.
Goofy
Maybe
dagger
hats.
exchange.
Daggers would actually be kind of cool. Something like that. Something small that's not very. You don't need much invested into it. And if people like look like they're shying away from it because of some reason, then that's a way to get an ANS night together to do things. That's a way to like possibly reach out to those less fortunate and help them participate as well and things like that. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, especially around this time of year, that the holidays are just providing an excuse for, that you really should be doing all year round. Not because it's a requirement or your park's going to fall to pieces or anything like that, just because, like we've mentioned multiple times, if there's engagement, if you continue to expand that engagement and keep people involved, and you let people know that you care whether they live or die or exist, then it's better for your park as a whole.
It just builds community. You're
does.
more invested into each other whenever you've, spent time making something and they show up with it and things like that. So.
Also, some of my favorite belt favors came from the belt favor exchange.
Oh my God, yeah, it was really good.
I
it
still
was
have
a really good one.
I still have a good luck charm belt favor from Quan maybe that has like a lucky penny and a 4-leaf clover.
Oh
all
yeah,
stuck
that's
to it.
right.
It's
I
got a
forgot about
pocket.
that one.
Yeah, it was a good belt favor.
Mm-hmm. Is that your cookie belt favor or your
the
cookie pocket
cookie
one?
pouch is something I won for volunteering at symposium.
Oh,
which I
okay.
don't remember volunteering, but like, yeah, it holds exactly 2 Oreos, and it will hold them for a couple months before you realize they're there and try to eat them.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
They tasted fine, didn't they?
No,
Oh.
not terribly fine. No.
Some other things that you can do, if you'll see all of these arrayed behind you here, is get together for board game nights.
Mm-hmm.
Board games are kind of tough to do in large groups because there's not a whole lot of board games that are meant for more than 4 people. Even when you get into ones that are meant for 4 people, they don't necessarily work at their best when there's more than 4.
Yeah, they usually get long and drawn out, basically.
But you can have stuff like, you can have a group of people sitting around playing Ticket to Ride, and one playing Settlers of Catan, and one who, let's go over here, one playing Cosmic Encounters because they hate themselves.
I love
and
that stupid game.
It is such a boring game.
And if you're tired of your friends, you can all get together and play Monopoly.
Yeah.
You know what?
And
if
then
you
they
play,
won't be your friends anymore.
if you play by the rules of Monopoly, the game's over in less than 30 minutes.
There's no rules to Monopoly.
Yeah.
You put all the fines on the free parking.
Nope.
Yep, that's
Not a rule.
how that works.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I house ruled all of those too, but don't play Monopoly.
No.
Go get a good game.
If you're forced to and you can play it by the rules, just build only houses, never build a hotel. You take away all the supply of houses, and then it makes it worse. It's great.
Yeah.
You have all the money, and they don't.
It's your fucking Wolf of Wall Street strategy for fucking Monopoly, dude.
Yeah.
Jeff might be a sociopath.
Mine.
Probably not far from it.
Yeah. I mean,
That was really those were really the big things that I wanted to cover for the cold weather stuff. Some other things that I wanted to get into. One more thing that I think would be really cool to cover here. It is that a lot of times people bring out water and stuff like that in the summer because it gets really hot. You're sweating a whole lot. You know that you need to go drink. A lot of times people don't pay attention to the fact that when it gets cold, you still need water. There are a not insignificant number of people that will get slightly dehydrated in the wintertime just because they're not paying attention. So keep on bringing the water out. Don't slow it down just because it gets cold.
Hot hands might be like another extra thing to bring for a park kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, you can put them under the cover of your sword and then smack someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, no, I just wanted to, I meant to mention that earlier, but I just wanted to toss that out there too. Be sure to bring some water.
Break apart. Okay, here's an idea. Break apart the stuff that's inside of the hot hands. Put it in your spell balls. Give them fireballs some kick.
You really
Some spicy fireballs.
You really focused in on this hot hands thing, didn't you?
I just feel like, if it doesn't give your friends chemical burns, the big if, then maybe it's cool.
Lucas is going to get hit by a tiger bomb fireball later today.
Why would you do that?
I was going to say, at our park especially, we have people that their belted family words are "we escalate." I don't know why you would do something like that.
Gun.
Yeah, I won't protect you.
It's fair.
Where's Lucas? I don't know.
I'm hoping that he'll hit my back hard enough that it just realigns everything. Like when Aang gets smashed up against that rock and he goes into the avatar state, like maybe he'll do that and then my back will just into place and then I'll be good. Can't hurt at this point.
I can see. It's a miracle.
Yeah. And then he hits me again and then I can't see anymore.
Yeah. Oh, never mind. Yeah, so no, that was really what I wanted to touch on with the holiday stuff. If anybody else has any traditions or ideas that their parks do, leave a comment. We'd love to hear what...
Steal some ideas.
Yeah, that's really what I was going for.
Is there like a non-denominational amtgard advent calendar?
I don't know.
Like every day you get a new thing, but like instead it's like every weekend you do a new challenge leading up to a big thing. That would be cool if somebody had come up with it.
Like the little, they'll start one where you do every single day and you get a new Lego, and then at the end you build a Lego thing out.
Yeah, but like for
building a festival pole arm.
Yeah.
A maypole arm.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I don't know, but that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, just like this is my like notepad, right? I wake up in the middle of the night and then write the idea down and then never come back to it. Amtgard Advent Calendar. Someone do something with that.
Another fun thing, you could have people put in a battle game idea and then draw one out of the hat on, say, Monday after park. And by Sunday, there needs to be a battle game themed around whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a full breakdown of the battle game, right? It could just be pieces of paper that say something like Santa and his reindeers, and then it's, all of the reindeers have gone crazy, and Santa had to go find questers to get them back under control. You can do something fun.
Think of what I would write to put in the hat, and the only thing my brain came up with was, what if wolves could fly? Do something with that, game designer.
Lucas
kind of like that, just as a general idea. Not even necessarily the wolves can fly, but like the force me to like think about how to make a game over these weird constraints,
right?
Or these weird ideas or whatever. Kind of is fun. Quests you kind of brought up might actually be kind of an answer for the holiday area. You can kind of look at like 2 or 3 life games where you have 4 or 5 players who are the quote unquote PCs, and then you have 2 or 3 who are monsters or something. Because that keeps you at like 6 or so people as far as numbers go. So that's still a low number that you can kind of do something with.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like you can play into them, like we were talking about snowball fight. You can kind of look at it kind of like dodgeball or something, and you draw a line in the middle that you can't cross or something silly. We've been playing Calvin Ball again.
Yeah, that was fun.
So Calvin Ball is basically Orc Ball for us, but
you make the rules up as you go.
Yeah. Like originally, it's like the end zone lines or whatever are the goal, and their ball just has to roll across it. But we had a better ball that actually rolled and could be kicked pretty well, so we made goals rather than the boundary lines. And every time a goal is scored, it shrunk, so it became harder and harder to actually score a goal. So that was kind of fun. I really liked it. On top of adding silly things like only spin shots can kill people to like what was some of the other
Heroic
ones we did?
strike.
Yeah.
Only spin shots kill. There was the ball. The ball kills anything it touches.
Yeah. If it touches a legal shot location, then you die from the hit, which meant you could kick it, but you died immediately after or something like that. So you can just add silly rules to it.
There was the samurai rule, I think, where it's like you have to draw your weapon.
Yeah,
and
but
say
that's
your name.
really just our area that knows what this is.
Yeah, but it's dumb and fun and do your part too.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what was some of the other? Oh, and one of my favorite when we originally did Orc Ball in this area was Darian was playing, and we told him that he didn't have to take shots anymore. And then the moment that he got hit, one of the other Reeves
That was
like,
me.
Yeah,
I called him
that's right.
dead
Yeah,
for sloughing.
for cheating.
Yeah.
so you can have a lot of fun with it with silly things like that too. It kind of falls back to like low number park games that are pretty good. It's kind of like the domination style games where you have multiple zones that you can control, and you usually can just use a couple cones to signify which team has control of it. Like if you had two of the flat cones, one that's yellow, one that's orange, you could flip them to whichever side for whoever controlled it. And if it was neutral, both of them showed something along those lines.
What are you doing?
I had something on my shirt, man. Don't draw attention.
It's just Kirby.
We're not a small camera this time. Everybody can see what's on your shirt
I'm
pretty
getting,
well.
I'm knocking it off. Leave it alone.
Okay.
If you hadn't said anything, people would notice.
Our Spotify listeners love us.
Yeah, for our non-visual listeners, I have a Kirby T-shirt on that's white and it has a
Mustard stain
cheese
in the
on it.
middle of the face.
I don't think it's mustard.
Oh, I really want it to slowly travel down the shirt like Kirby sucking it in.
It's solidified, my guy. It's not.
Okay, so other things to talk about that we wanted to cover today.
There's the results of the recent comm meeting.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually
that
one
was
you
what
should-
I was going to bring up. Of course, we had the comm meeting recently. We have our the Senator of Winter's Edge here, Cabbage, was the one that voted on our behalf. The vote, as I understand it, was 2 abstained, and this was regarding whether Battle Master and Sword Knight should be merged into a single belt. The vote, as I understand it, was 2 abstained, 7 opposed, so 7 no's, and then
13 yes.
13 yeses.
I may be a little bit off on my remembrance. There were a couple of items to vote on. Some of those were procedural, like does this count as a quorum or doesn't this? And those are boring, so we won't really get into those. But the Battle Master discussion was maybe the most heated topic going in. And I think those vote totals are right. I think it was 13 yes, 7 no, 2 abstained because they just weren't there. They abstained by absence. But yeah, so I brought this up to the Kingdom of Winter's Edge, and I know a lot of folks did a lot of polling on their ends as well. It was actually kind of interesting to step into that comm meeting because we were asked like, hey, does anybody have hard data on this? Has anybody done any polling? I know Winter's Edge has done some. What did you get out of your results? And I was like, oh, right, I did do that. Here's what our people said. So by and large, Winter's Edge was against merging the 2 belts. The discussion was whether or not we should merge Battle Master, which was just created at this most recent Gathering of the Crowns, if we should merge that into Sword or if we should keep it separate. Because of the way the votes work, you have to have 90% approval to change the award structure. So that did not end up passing. Those will remain 2 separate belts. But it was kind of interesting seeing the other kingdoms. Most of the kingdoms who spoke at that meeting said they had similar polls from their populace. There was one kingdom who said they polled and got the opposite results, but by and large, I think it was one of those things that we didn't have enough momentum behind a change, and since our kingdom didn't want that, I'm all for it.
So let me ask you a follow-up question here. Right, if I've understood the rules right now, in order for an award change to happen, 2 kingdoms can vote no. If 3 kingdoms vote no, then it's going to fail because you need that 90%. Is that correct?
I can do some quick math. There's 22 kingdoms, yeah? So
I didn't know how the rounding worked for it, so...
I would assume we round to whatever is most charitable, right? So 22 times 0.9. Yeah, so you're pretty much right on the money. It's 19.8. So 2 kingdoms can turn down an awards change, and it won't pass.
Now, I was in favor of keeping Battlemaster as a separate belt.
Same.
So I'm happy that this passed, but I guess I have to ask, in the sake of fairness, that are we in a situation where 3 kingdoms could hold the entire game hostage?
Well, we were in the same situation when we passed Battlemaster initially. To get Battlemaster as a 5th Knight's belt, we had to have that same threshold for approval. To get Crown Points approved, we had to have that same level of approval. To get the Warrior Path, everybody says we made the Warrior Path easier. To get that approved, we had to have that same threshold for approval. So, I mean, is it unfair? I don't think so. Plenty of stuff has gotten passed with that threshold. Essentially, it's a big enough change to how our game works that the kingdoms all have to be for it, is I think the spirit behind that ruling. So you can't have a small majority of kingdoms, 51% of kingdoms saying we want this and pissing off the other 49%. I think that's the way it's written, or the reason it's written that way. So, I mean, as far as this change, I understand why it didn't pass. Plenty of people, this has maybe fortunately or maybe unfortunately cracked the lid open on the whole knight conversation. Plenty of people are making proposals that, I know somebody posted that they wanted to make proposals to unify all the belts into one belt. You are just a knight, like in Dagger here. And your masterhood kind of delineates what you are known for. I've seen people suggesting that your 8th order is actually your knighthood and your masterhood is the prestige bit. And I have seen suggestions that we split knighthood even further into more belts. So instead of being a serpent knight, you are a knight of the owl or something like that. So this is something that I imagine people will be putting proposals forward. You should hopefully hear from your senators. Winter's Edge will certainly hear from me, but other kingdoms will hopefully hear from their reps. But keep your ears to the ground, because a lot of people have suggested proposals just like this, and we don't really know at this point until they put them in front of us what happens, but they'll all be subject to the same threshold. So if you really hate that proposal, maybe this threshold thing works for you.
Yeah, and check with your monarch or your senator, if your king has one too, about when these votes are going to be happening. Ask questions. The idea here is that they're representing their kingdom as a whole. So all of you should be in the know on what's going on. Our senator does a poll on our main page, and of all of the people that are eligible to vote, everything's pulled. All of the data is pulled out from there. Only the people eligible to vote are counted, and we get our marching orders there. And Cabbage even posted up that even if it's something that he personally disagrees with, if the kingdom as a whole votes, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you chose not to vote or forgot about it or whatever, I'm sorry, but the kingdom has spoken.
Well, to get a little bit more into process, and I know this is the kind of the boring meat grindery part of it, but it does matter. So I'm very lucky here that what I wanted aligned with what the kingdom wanted. But yes, you're correct. If they had voted yes, we want to merge them, regardless of what I want, that's what I'm going to report to the comm is yes, Winter's Edge wants to do this. But as far as process goes, not only do I post it on the main page, I post it to the Discord, because we do have a fair amount of people who are kind of shying away from Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, I actually let anybody vote on the poll who wants to. I only filter the data afterwards, because I just generally want the opinion.
Right.
And then after that, I'll filter out the hard data that matters for our kingdom. And then also, I leave the poll open for people to discuss. So far, we've gotten lucky that it hasn't gotten so messy we have to lock the threads or anything. But it lets people have like a single outlet to discuss the thing. And, maybe change opinions if they want to. If you want to have that discourse and try to change someone's mind, you're more than open to do it. I have been criticized. I've had several people message me and say they don't like that format. Just because it's frustrating, they don't want to hear people from out of kingdom arguing or whatever, and I agree. I don't love that.
I don't know. Like, if a argument has merit and can be made, then
Right.
I don't see the reason to lock it down just because it's not part of your kingdom.
Yeah, like if you want to try to change the minds, you can, and if your argument's good enough, maybe it works. I know, Flo, you also had a debate with someone about this as well. The day my announcement went up, you had a sort of, I guess, like a 1v1 debate me in the ring. I actually didn't get to watch that because I was at fighter practice. How did that go?
Yeah, me and Godric got together and did a a debate. My position was that the belts should be separated, so 5 belts. His position was that they should be 1 belt. And it was just a good back and forth. Both of us are rather new to this format. There were some things that we didn't do so well and some things that I thought we did really well. One of the things I thought we did really well is Godric and I are still friends afterwards. You can have conversations like this, and sometimes, even tough conversations. There were times in that talk where we were cordial towards each other, but very direct in what our point was, right? And none of that affected the fact that I'll still shake his hand and hug him the next time that I see him, which will also be the first time that I've seen him. We want to do more of these, but the idea is that you can have open, honest discourse with people that you disagree with, and maybe not in the format that Facebook wants you to respond. The algorithms, this isn't like conspiracy, brother. The algorithms want you to respond quickly, thoughtlessly.
Yep.
And we even have, some beautiful Pavlovian style training here with a ding noise and lights that flash at us and all of this other things. So have these conversations because they're good, and listen, especially to the people that have an opinion that's different from yours. But be respectful when you're responding. Remember that you're on your, in the case of Winter's Edge at least, you're on your kingdom page.
Yeah, attack ideas, not people.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep.
And so that was the meat of the debate there. We weren't necessarily looking for a winner or a loser for it. This was just to get out both ideas in an audio format so that people could see what they thought.
Yeah.
And he made some very good points, and I feel like I did as well. So I was pretty proud of it.
I saw in the aftermath of this vote, I actually saw Sir Glenn made a really good point about sword versus battle knight, and sort of kind of condensed it all into like one really salient point, what I'm now going to butcher. But he was basically saying that people are identifying the problem that there aren't that many sword knights, and they're latching on to the wrong idea that we need to make sword knight easier to obtain, when they're not realizing that there are basically no female sword knights.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's not make the award easier for everybody to get, or make the award easier for dudes to get. It's give women a path to the award that is equitable, I think.
Well, and this was the conversation a couple of years ago. This was the conversation that, and I hope that I am not messing up my timeline here, but this was a conversation that started before Lightning got together some hard data on all of our belts and presented it at Clan. And if I remember correctly, I think that was one of the contributing factors to all of that data being put together. And it changed from an argument of why don't we have more female sword knights and what are some ways that we could address this problem to how can we make sword belt easier to get. Now, that might still be a salient point, but they are two different questions.
Yeah.
And I think that they're being homogenized in some way. And maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe those both deserve their own equal time in the conversation, right?
Yeah. Now, I don't think it's our job necessarily to litigate the female sword knight conversation, as
Right.
we're all dudes. I think that's entirely up to the women who want this to happen to push for it, and certainly to push for that vote to happen as well if they want. But
Yeah.
that was just an interesting point by Glenn that I thought, like, I read it and I was like, yeah, that seems like what everybody's missing in this whole make it easier to get discussion. It's not really maybe benefiting the people who need it most. There was also some business with a Dragon Spine Desert Winds border dispute that I'm seeing a lot of people mad about on the amtgard confessional page. Can I talk about that for a second?
Sure.
I don't know a whole lot about it. So
Yeah, I don't know anything about this one.
Yeah, so...
Well, I may know, like, a vague thing about it, but not anything specific.
Yeah, so this was... essentially, there is a park called Helheim, and they are... So far as I understand it, they are right on the
Congrats
border.
on the Viking name. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think Helheim is actually I think they are a... damn it, starts with a D. Dagger here. Park that also wants to become an amtgard park because they have a lot of players there who play amtgard and want to cross game and sort of get the benefits of doing so.
Right.
So there was a little bit of discussion about how they're like technically 30 miles from one location and 29 from another. So can they even open a park there in the first place? There was another issue where they originally were, as I understand it, part of Dragonspine. They left with the vote from the park and with that monarch's approval at the time, and they wanted to join Desert Winds, I believe. Which, according to the contracts team, they should have been able to do so. Or there was some like border dispute where they were right on the line where they couldn't. And Dragonspine was not allowing them to leave their kingdom territory. Because if for example, if Neverwinter wanted Radiant Valley to become part of Neverwinter, Winter's Edge would have to okay that. Because we're technically within Winter's Edge territory.
I definitely understand how that could be a problem, too, if you were not talking about a park that was kind of on the border of your kingdom.
Well, I think it's well enough in the border of Dragonspine that like it should have been there, but the park itself did not want to be in Dragonspine.
Well,
For whatever reason, and that was never really indicated as to why. A lot of the comm, because a lot of people are mad at the comm for voting the way that it did, and I'll explain it from my point of view. A lot of it felt like we were acting on half information from both sides. Dragonspine would not speak up as to why they were vetoing that, really. When we asked them to, they mostly put it on their previous monarch, and they said something about like a banned player potentially trying to play. But for those who don't know, freeholds have to uphold all bans, so that's a non-issue as far as I was concerned.
that's odd.
So yeah, like Dragonspine wasn't really voicing their concern or announcing their side of the issue very clearly. Helheim had done all the footwork of actually getting statements that were later verified, but getting statements from the surrounding parks saying like, hey, we love these guys. We don't care that they're technically too close. Like, it's a weird drive, so let them have a park. And even getting, approval from like everyone who could be involved but Dragonspine. And even with that, I felt like we weren't getting the whole story from Helheim, but we also weren't getting the whole story from Dragonspine. So at the end of the day, the vote was basically let the kids play their fucking amtgard.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, so now we can poach territory from other kingdoms, and it's certainly not that. What the comm voted for was a preemptive, we would allow this if they were to try to join. There's some legalese behind why we had to do it that way. But essentially, like, this kingdom can now, or this freehold can now approach another kingdom if they want to, and people getting mad about, sniping territory. Keep in mind, this had to go to a full vote of the Circle of Monarchs. It's not something you can just do. And if we didn't feel like a monarch was unfairly keeping you from moving somewhere else, then we might not vote the same way. It's messy. I mean, I'm the first to agree with that, but
I get it. The park here in Knoxville, as we've discussed before, used to be under Dragonspine. We're in Knoxville, Tennessee. Dragonspine is in New Mexico somewhere. There's a billion miles in between us.
Yeah.
We don't live in that amtgard anymore. We have much better defined borders in that there are borders. And generally speaking, if you are in the area for a particular kingdom, you'll want to join that kingdom. It's going to be easier for you to get to events and stuff like that. But stuff happens. Disagreements happen between parks and people and players. And I don't know. It just seems, again, especially if you're in a situation where you're on the borders between two different kingdoms, and the park says, well, you know what, we tried this out. It's not really working. We're not really feeling it. We're going to go over here. I just don't care. They should be able to play Amtgard wherever they want.
yeah, that was my, like I said, let the kids have their amtgard. Literally, like, I think verbatim, like, let the kids play. Who cares? Because, I mean, technically, your park, your freehold, whatever, can be a part of any kingdom, so long as the kingdom whose territory you currently reside in approves it. And this is just a case of them not.
Oh, so we
it.
could be Dragonspine again.
We could. If Winter's Edge said we're cool with it and they signed off on it and Dragonspine wanted us, we could. We could even the scales. We could go to Dragonspine. They could lose a park and then gain a park. They're back to net zero. Is that what we want? No, I see no reason to leave Winter's Edge's great kingdom. But ultimately, again, for the people who are throwing shit in either direction, it mostly seemed like a case of gatekeeping. And so as the comm voted, I think almost unanimously, with the exception of Dragonspine, I think, to approve that change, allow them to pursue that.
I don't know. It kind of brings up a interesting thing of if your park just doesn't get along with the kingdom for whatever reason, bad fit or whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, are you forced to be a freehold forever, or are you able to actually join another kingdom? And I think being able to join another kingdom is probably the better bet, but it is kind of a weird thing. You potentially have like kingdom hopping.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, freeholds.
Or something.
I feel like freeholds need some amount of autonomy, some amount of not even autonomy, some amount of freedom to choose where they end up at. And kingdom boundaries kind of do restrict them. Freeholds are already kind of dunked on with all the other restrictions that they get. But I understand why AI has this kingdom territory thing in place. I don't know. It's a tricky spot to be in. I mean, these are things that'll individually be resolved by the comm if or when they come up. I'm actually surprised that during COVID, with all the kingdoms having different COVID restrictions, we didn't see a lot more of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess people weren't actually able to play amtgard, so...
Some kingdoms were, though. Some
I mean,
kingdoms could, and so they could say, oh, I want to be part of that kingdom, whoever it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think it depends on the cores of different kingdoms, right? Like,
True.
We have like a 6-month proof of 5 people or more or something like that for the ability to be under ours from a freehold to us.
Yeah, you have to hold shire numbers for, I believe it's 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, you have to declare a year beforehand, so is it even...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, I know a lot of people have been asking me about that, and it's what's the fucking page? The amtgard confessions page, I think, is the one.
Is that the anonymous
yeah,
poster one? Yeah, okay.
Of dubious usefulness, but it's there, and people are like, "Hey, what was the deal with this vote?" And I mean, ultimately, like, doesn't really concern any kingdom but those two, and since they weren't able to work it out amongst themselves, we had to put it before the rest of the comm. So that's the other business. If you see like, sniping territory, it's not that at all.
I mean, at least there's a method to deal with it, right? Like, whether it's good or not, one way or the other, it doesn't really matter. We have a method to deal with it, so at least there's that.
Yeah. And the other thing that I see, and I see this with a lot of stuff, is that this would set a precedent. And the idea of setting a precedent on the comm is so fucking hilarious that
setting precedent as a monarch, setting precedent as a comm or stuff when things change 6 months to a year.
Yeah, it's the constantly revolving door. You don't set a precedent when there's a new person in every other week. Like,
yeah, so I'm gonna put on my Crown Knight hat here, and I know that
that's
you
just
all.
A crown.
Yeah, it is.
Can we get you a Burger King crown?
Oh, I would wear it.
Okay.
And I know that you guys have heard me.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I know that you guys have heard me bitch about this. Can you get me some of the pie there too? I love their pie, man.
Yeah.
The Hershey's pie.
Oh, they also they still have the Krispy Kreme hats too.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, they're nice.
I know that you guys have heard me bitch about this before, but stop pulling out things that you heard on Law and Order the night before. There's no such thing as precedent in our game. It doesn't matter how a monarch 1, 2, 4, 12, 100 terms before you handled something. It doesn't mean that you have to handle it in the same way. Situations are different. Everything surrounding what happened is often very different. This whole idea that tradition is important. I don't want to devalue the idea that tradition is just something to be thrown away. It's not. But this is kind of one of those things where TV presents it like, oh, this judge over in Texas said that you should do it this way. Do you want to know what the judge in the Fourth Circuit Courts is in Tennessee, where I live, is going to say? I don't fucking care how some judge in Texas
probably
ruled on.
Probably something different. You know,
tradition for tradition's sake is what I don't care for.
Right.
Like, as long as those traditions have something backing up for them, that's what's really at, I guess, the good stuff to go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try not to do things based on like the precedent it may set, because only by what's the best way to word this? The only way a precedent exists is if you give it any mind, right? So like, there's a precedent for this, so we have to do this way. Well, this situation's a little bit different. Yeah, but precedent, the last time this happened, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's still different. The facts of the case are always going to be different from incident to incident, from issue to issue. So worrying about setting a precedent is really just a way to shackle yourself from making decisions.
Yeah.
So when it comes to stuff like this, like we have not set a precedent that you can snipe territory from other kingdoms. This was a one-off issue. If you want to snipe some territory from another kingdom, you're going to have to present the facts of your case, and we'll have to review that one separately. We're not going to say, well, last time we allowed this kingdom to snipe territory, so this time we're going to allow you.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be different. The precedent argument doesn't hold water for me.
Also, Winter's Edge is a pretty cool kingdom. So any of those freeholds out there looking for a kingdom,
Oh, God, no.
Winter's Edge Board of Directors, I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Give them something to do. But no, I mean, like, make your own kingdom better. Not saying don't come here. Like, you're certainly welcome, I guess. But, it's a pretty big move. It's a pretty weird thing to do. As I understand it, those people are going to be very far away from their home kingdom, just because it's big enough anyway that...
Yeah, I mean, when we were under Dragonspine, the kingdom was a meaningless concept to us. Sir Randall came up when we were leaving and handed out some awards and gave us Dragonspine belt favors, and it was one of the coolest things I experienced in my young amtgard career, but that was super special because it almost never happens.
Yeah.
The rest of the kingdom stuff, we knew nothing about. We didn't know the politics that were going on. We didn't know. I mean, a lot of this was because Facebook didn't exist. MySpace didn't even exist.
Good old Yahoo groups.
Yeah, we were
Better
using
days.
Yahoo groups at the time. So you could stay a little bit more connected. But you also run into situations where the kingdoms don't necessarily want you running for kingdom level office because you're a billion miles away, or may not want you running for kingdom level office. So
maybe you can't. There's still some of that stuff going around.
Maybe you can't. So there's some trade-offs to going with a kingdom that is far away from you.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's most of the comm business, at least the comm business that's interesting. There were a bunch of proposals that were tabled because they weren't really relevant, and everything's going to kind of calm down until, I guess, Gathering of the Crowns 2022. I managed to sucker myself into getting on the budget committee for the next Gathering of the Crowns. So my objective is going to be to put together an actual budget/payment structure proposal, because they've tried to pass a payment structure for all kingdoms in the past, and it's just never worked out. Currently there's no teeth if a kingdom doesn't pay, for example.
Right.
And there's no sort of equitable split to how the kingdom should pay. Right now it's just everybody pay $2,000 if you can.
Right.
So that's going to be a thing that comes up at GOTC 2022, and you'll likely start seeing lots of polls from me about how that might be done in the near future. Probably not over the holidays because I'm also going to be busy, but early January start looking for stuff like that as well.
Cool.
Not really, but it's just something.
Yeah, I was just trying to be polite.
It's honestly super important for the game because of how we got ourselves structured. So,
yeah, this is something that any of our Dagbell listeners, Darkon, probably wouldn't understand. SCA would. But because of the way that our game is structured, guys, there's a cost to play. You don't have to pay to come out to your local park and play everything, but the organization as a whole has a cost to run it. And this isn't the 80s anymore.
Yeah, we went corporate.
We did. For better or worse, we did. So,
yay fundraising.
Honestly, if we just run events better, I think that's a fine way to keep things afloat. Like this latest Winter's Edge event made buku bucks from what I remember, and it wasn't that hard to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, too, that we had someone getting knighted. It was our first big event since...
Let's just knight gun every time. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Could we make a new pillow for him every single time?
I want to make him look like a Final Fantasy character with as many belts as we give him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything else. I did want to give another shout-out. I think that we said this on the last podcast, and I'm going to say it again. Thank you to everyone who continues to donate to our St. Jude Children's Hospital fundraiser. We are over our goal now, but we are keeping St. Jude's charitable fundraiser open until the last day of November. Please do continue donating. All of this money goes directly to St. Jude's and is going to help families and kids make sure that they never get a bill from St. Jude's for services, treatment, food, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So give what you can when you can. It's for a great cause. Either of you have anything else?
I can't think of anything.
We'll put a link to the St. Jude's Charity Drive in the description below. And Cabbage, you want to go ahead and roll this out?
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify to get notified about new episodes. And make sure to follow us on Facebook for announcements and more.